Hello, friend. Thanks for stopping by. If you don't know, I'm Katie of Dandelion Doily. I love making all things tiny and delightful, especially embroidered jewelry. But recently, I've been having so much fun making miniature painted necklaces that depict some of our most cherished and beloved classics and stories. There are many literary characters and places that I hold dear in my heart, but none have the same homey and heartwarming feeling that Anne of Green Gables gives. Some of us feel very strongly about the Anne adaptations. I invite you to passionately describe your opinion like a fiery Anne would in the comments. But I actually feel that Anne is also quite generous in spirit. And in that same vein, I have to confess, I love them both. With one slight exception I'll leave for the very end. Anne has made her way into my heart and into my art in multiple ways over the years. Her stories bring us laughter and joy, and at times bring us with her to the depths of despair. I can't help but want to keep her and Green Gables close to my heart. A few years ago, I painted little lockets, but this time I will be revisiting the idea in a different way. To get started, I'm gluing some pre-cut acid-free paper to a notebook, so the paintings stay still while I work. I used to paint directly onto paper and cut my paintings out later, but it was very difficult to cut them out neatly and perfectly centered. I will be using a limited palette of gouache paints with only primary colors, black and white. If you are just starting off with painting, you might be tempted to go all out and buy all the colors. There are shelves and shelves of them to choose from at the store. The options are almost endless. But if you remember from art class or grade school, all of the pigment colors there are all made up of the three primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. These colors are actually all you need, plus black and white to adjust the value. Don't get me wrong, there are times when other colors are very helpful additions, and sometimes your chosen primary colors will not be able to achieve a desired result like a neon vibrancy or a warm or cold hue. But most of the time, you can create whole worlds with them if you have scope for the imagination. Anne has plenty of this. She came from meager and dull circumstances into a new opportunity full of hope, only for it to be dashed on the floor and uncertain again. Anne's character is strong, and her will and desire to be good are fueled by her wild and well-meaning, but not always well-doing, imagination. Every challenge is an opportunity to overcome, and she always does it with her signature dose of drama. Maybe you feel behind in your art journey, or maybe you feel stuck in another way. In mine and Anne's book, that's okay. It is a joy and a gift that there is always more to learn if you seek for it, and there are endless possibilities to pursue. Anne chattily muses early on in her first book. Isn't it splendid to think of all the things there are to find out about? It just makes me feel glad to be alive. It's such an interesting world. It wouldn't be half as interesting if we knew all about everything, would it? There'd be no scope for imagination then, would there? Right after this, she asks if she's talking too much, which she often does, but for which I am so grateful. There are many Anne books, the first of which is the most remembered and probably the best, but all of them have endless amounts of great and inspiring quotes. I listened to all of the books on audiobook for free through the public library, but if I had physical copies, I think they might be difficult to read for all of the underlines. Anne of Green Gables is set in Prince Edward Island in Canada at the turn of the last century. It is a period piece and to me a great example of cottagecore aesthetic and genre. If you have ever felt the poetic urge to run through a field and do a spin in a frock, holding on tightly to your hat and fresh-picked flowers, Anne is for you. Or perhaps you felt your temper rise with fiery indignation and couldn't help standing up for your beliefs. Anne is for you. If you've ever tangled yourself in a minor or mammoth mess of your own doing, once or twice or a few times before, Anne is also for you. She's a kindred spirit to so many of us for her very wide spectrum of realness. She has a lot to learn, but thank goodness, so do we all. Anne overflows with unshakable authenticity. She does everything full-heartedly and lives life to the fullest, even if it looks like folly to some. She strives to do her best and messes up along the way, but never gives up even when her emotions get the best of her. Anne says, "There's such a lot of different Annes in me. I sometimes think that is why I'm such a troublesome person. If I was just the one Anne, it would be ever so much more comfortable, but then it wouldn't be half so interesting." Apart from Anne, I'm very interested in her talented maker and author, Lucy Maud, or L.M. Montgomery. Lucy was a gifted writer who brought so much goodness and hope to the world through her prolific writing. But Lucy herself seemed to have an increasingly discouraged life. We never know anyone's full story, but I wonder if Lucy also felt divided, with many Lucys inside as well. Sometimes it takes tremendous effort and work to remember how to hope or imagine like when we were young. I hope now that Lucy is at rest, she remembers how, and she feels the love that she could only write about in this life. In this mini painting, I envisioned Anne escaping into a story surrounded by the comforts of her home and world, which are a comfort and escape for many of us. I really aspire to be like Anne and to approach life like her. This quote toward the end of the book sums up the joy that can always be ours if we thoughtfully embrace the little things and view the world generously with a broad scope of imagination. If the path set before her feet was to be narrow, she knew that flowers of quiet happiness would bloom along it. The joys of sincere work and worthy aspiration and congenial friendship were to be hers. Nothing could rob her of her birthright of fancy or her ideal world of dreams. And there was always the bend in the road. I realized though, once I thought I was done, I wasn't. The sky was cloudless, and that did not feel very appropriate in a scene dedicated to one who always was looking up, dreaming and hoping. Once the paintings were dry, I carefully glued them into their pendants. I tried 2 different varnishes, one a little thicker and glossy, and one thinner and less so. Which do you like more? I'm so excited to get this batch of mini stories ready to share. Stories stick with us, and I think loving them out loud helps us discover, like Anne, that kindred spirits are not so scarce as we used to think. It's splendid to find out there are so many of them in the world. These special stories mean so much to me, and it's so nice to love them along with you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and I hope to see you again in another. Thanks so much for watching. Sincerely, Katie of Dandelion Doily.